Hey polish fans, it's Caroline again and welcome to another video here at Wild Moon Lacquer. In today's video I am finally doing another segment of my fall nail polish rack. This is a collaboration as always, so make sure to check out the link down below for all of the other participants and their channels. I think this might be my third video in this series for this year. I always tend to overload my rack. In fact, we're just going to do a quick little look-see at the rack. This is what I haven't shared with you guys. This is the rest of the indie polishes. I did share my mooncap polishes that I had on my rack, and then I did a Pruglies video. But yeah, that's just some. That's like my acrylic rack, and then I have more polishes over here to the side. I've got some from Wildflower Lacquer. I have some more mainstreams from OPI and China Glaze. And I have greens over here, which is that little tub that you're seeing there at the corner. But yeah, I have a lot. I always tend to overdo it on my seasonal nail polish racks, but I like having the options and I like to see what I have. So this is a good opportunity every season to remind myself of what I have. And in today's video, we are going to be exploring some of my oranges. I know, very original for the fall season, but oranges are one of the first true fall color families, other than maybe burgundy, that I really fell head over heels in love with. Now, currently, I'm also very much in love with the greens. In fact, I've been wearing solid back-to-back greens for a few weeks now. On my nails currently, before we get into the oranges, on my left hand is Moonshine. Manny is the living usually won't see the dead. This is from their Beetlejuice collection. I don't know what year. I believe I got this in a mystery box, if I'm remembering, and it is very, very pretty. It's got a lighter tone of almost like a deep pear leaning into olive in that green base. It has that scattered holographic flake and then a very rich orange to red to green to gold shifting multichromatic shimmer. It is very, very pretty. Then on my right hand, I finally got around to wearing this one from China Glaze. This one is called Little Green Invaders. It came out, I think, in a Halloween collection a few years ago, and this is one that I'm very happy with on my nails. I will say it did start chipping very quickly. I only painted this on my nails yesterday, and it's already chipping, but the color of this is rather impressive in its opacity. I was thoroughly expecting this to be at least a 3-coater and then probably still be a little sheer, but it's not. This is just 2 coats. It is a beautiful, moody alien polish. It is so, so cool. So it has that moody green base to it. You have a brighter green in the shimmer, and then it does shift to that red and orange and even gold. So there is a lot that goes onto this for a rather simplistic formula. It's very, very pretty. Okay, so enough about the greens. Now let's go ahead and jump into the oranges that I've picked out for my fall seasonal rack. The first one is going to be a mainstream from Color Club, and this one is called Back to the Grind. I know I've shared this before, and it's in fact probably been on previous fall seasonal racks, and to be perfectly frank, I don't know that I've ever actually gotten it on my nails because, like I mentioned, I tend to overdo my racks, and I know this, and I keep telling myself I won't, and then I can't help myself. In any case, this one from Color Club is this beautiful copper. It has this beautiful holographic glitter in it and a linear hollow. This is a beautiful combination. Really hoping to get this one on my nails this season. So here's that one in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. As you can see, it is a little on the chunkier side since it does have those holographic glitters. I would probably end up wearing this with a glitter smoother and then a glossy top coat, because as you can see in that area right there especially, I'm definitely getting that chunky glitter covered with base sort of a look, and I definitely would want that a little bit smoother. But you guys, color and hollow wise, this is so, so pretty. I love how the glitter adds that beautiful, larger sparkle of the hollow. It adds flecks of green and gold and orange. It is beautiful. So that first orange is Back to the Grind from Color Club. The next one is an indie brand. This is Dom Nail Polish, obviously orange. This came out in their linear holographic collection, and this is a beautiful shade of orange. This is definitely not like a straight up Crayola orange. It is a deeper, almost dustier shade of orange, and the linear flare on this is beautiful. So here's that one in 2 coats with a glossy top coat, and look at that rainbow flare on it. It is so beautiful. So this is another one where I was pleasantly surprised by the opacity. I was thoroughly expecting this one to be more of a 3rd coater, although I want to say I probably did swatch this before, but yeah, when I did the first coat of this one, I was expecting it to be a 3 coater, but I would say for my nail length, it's definitely a 2 coater. I would say it's potential right there that you can sort of see some backlight. So if you have a very prominent nail line or very, very long nails, you might still see some light coming through, but I was very impressed with this in just 2 coats. And like I said, it's a beautiful sort of dusty, almost leaning into the copper family as you see it there next to Back to the Grind, but a beautiful linear hollow. So that one was Dom Nail Polish, obviously orange. The next one is from Garden Path Lacquers. This is Happy in a Million Ways. This is one of my favorite formulas from the brand. I love the mix of the micro glitters, the shimmer, and those flakes. It combines to make this beautifully complex look on the nail. You're getting color from a variety of items in the base, and the base itself is clear. So all of the color is coming from those different particles, the micro glitters, the flakies, and the shimmer, and they all work together so beautifully. The micro glitters are what is creating that deeper orange, and you can see those little particles there, and then the shimmer creates that golden to orange shift, and then of course the flakes add a very similar shift to that shimmer. Because this one is in a clear base, this did need 3 coats for mostly opaque, at least on my clear nail swatches here. Now, as I've said before, with a similar kind of a finish, at least one that's very heavily flaked, on my nails, I often can get away with just 2 coats, but on this clear nail wheel, I definitely needed 3 coats for what I would say is mostly opaque, but again, you can see some light coming through from the background. So again, if you have a prominent nail line, you might want to put this over a blurring base coat, or just be okay with the fact that you're gonna see some light coming through. But this one has so many different glow elements, from the sparkle of the glitter to the shine of that shimmer and those flakies, that I think it's going to be pretty distracting on the nail for most people. But yeah, this has such a beautiful glowy look to it, and in person I'm seeing even more. There's maybe a bit more of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing more of that texture because of the flakes. I can see the flakes so much better in person, and they are gorgeous. And that was Garden Path Lacquers Happy in a Million Ways. Next up is, I think, the only magnetic in my oranges. This is by Viana, and this is Tangerine Beet. This one came out last year in June for Polish Pickup, and it is this beautiful orange that has the magnetic pull. We'll see that here in a second. Plus it has hollow. So this has beautiful sparkle. When you add the magnetic, you're pulling up that brighter orange into the magnetic line, and you're left with a darker, almost brown leaning base. Now I will say, in the 2 coats that I did, it doesn't get quite that dark on the nail. Here it is in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. I would say this is probably one of those that's going to be somewhere between a 2 and 3 coater depending on your nail length and application. But here it is with a glossy top coat in those 2 coats. And as you can see, it sort of does start to get a bit darker, but I don't feel it's as brown, at least as dark of a brown as it was looking in the bottle. So maybe that 3rd coat would sort of amp that up. In fact, let's go ahead and just test that theory while we're here. We'll just see what a 3rd coat does. All right, so there is a 3rd coat, and that definitely richened up the base color. Now it's a darker orange, and now it is starting to match that rich color that I was seeing in the bottle. I think that might be the best way to wear it. So I'm just going to correct that here. And yeah, that is absolutely gorgeous. Definitely a 3 coater if you want that rich color. But yeah, very pretty. I love the combination. For being a rather simplistic formulation, I mean, there's not a lot of contrast in this one. It does end up looking simply beautiful on the nail. That is another one that I really want to try to get on my nails this season. So that only magnetic in my oranges, at least that's on my nail polish rack for fall, is by Viana, Tangerine Beet. Next up is one of the sheerest polishes. This is from Bee's Knees Lacquer. This is Vitalum Vitalis, and this one is a UP polish. So this has the Unicorn Pea pigment, which has that beautiful red to green to gold shift to it. It has an orangey copper base, but very, 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 very lightly tinted. Now, if you are unfamiliar with UP pigment, oftentimes the base colors will be very sheer like this because the UP pigment is pretty delicate. You don't want to overpower it with a cream or even sometimes a crelly because you can drown out the sparkle and the shimmer. So with this kind of a polish, they'll often come out with like a base color to match the base. I don't remember if they did with this one, but that way you can have the opacity, but you're still going to get that layered up effect of the shimmer because of how sheer the base is. But this one is so beautiful and burnt. I'm going to have to figure out what base I want to wear that over. But as you can see, I have a number of cream choices to choose from. But here it is in 3 coats with a glossy top coat. And as you can see, this is the sheerest one on the rack, even in the 3 coats. But look at that gleam. It is so, so pretty. And that is because of that UP pigment. It has that unique sparkle. It is so gorgeous. So I'm going to try to get something to match it. In fact, probably this one here. Which one is that? I think that's Essie's Playing Koi. Yeah, Essie's Playing Koi. So I probably want something that rich and dark under it. But yeah, that is going to be a beautiful combo. We'll see if I can't get that on my nails this season. But there was the Bee's Knees Lacquer in 3 coats. So that one was Bee's Knees Lacquer Vitalum Vitalis. Now we're getting into some of these squashy orange creams. The first one is from Death Valley Nails. This is Coquelicot. And I think this is one of their like earthy pigmented colors, which means that they use an actual raw material to create the pigment for this. That's one of their big mottos, to use ground up rocks and flowers even in their polishes. And this one is a really beautiful, like squashy, burnt clay orange color. It is very pretty. It has more yellow than some of the other colors we've looked at so far. So here's that one in just 2 coats. This one was very rich and opaque. Look at that color. That is so neat. Now, hopefully you can see compared to the next polish, it's got that dusty, burnt quality to it. By comparison, OPI, Have Your Panettone and Eat It Too, is a little bit brighter by comparison, but this is such a neat shade of orange. It's got almost like a brown, tanny lean to it. So that first one in the creams was Death Valley Nails Coquelicot. Moving on to a mainstream, this is OPI's Have Your Panettone and Eat It Too. And this is another cream. It is a beautiful lighter shade, and I think one of the brighter tones of orange on this rack. Here it is in just 2 coats with a glossy top coat. And again, by comparison to Coquelicot, it definitely has a pinch of a brighter quality to it. Although if you were to compare this to a very bright orange, it's going to have that dusty appearance. It's going to have that fall tonality to it. A beautiful, beautiful color. So that was OPI's Have Your Panettone and Eat It Too. Next up is another mainstream. This is China Glaze's Spice to Meet You. This one came out in one of their fall collections either last year or maybe even in 2022. And it is a beautiful, spicy orange, one of my favorite tones of oranges. Here it is in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. Very, very impressive formula. And again, a lovely color. And pardon any of the little blips and fuzzes. I seemed to have fuzz settle on some of the nails before I did top coat, so there are some imperfections, but that's not the polish. That's just having cats in the household. But there we have 2 beautiful coats, and that is such a beautiful shade of that spicy pumpkin-y orange. So that one was China Glaze Spice to Meet You. Now we're getting into a couple of Essies. The first one is Playing Koi, and this is one of those oranges that was up there on my list to get when I started falling head over heels for these oranges in about 2019. And you guys, I am ashamed to say I don't think I've got this on my nails yet. So I really need to get this on my fingertips. And like I mentioned when I was showing you the Bee's Knees lacquer, I think I have found a beautiful combination to wear this with. So hopefully I can get it on my nails. But again, this is a beautiful shade of very rich burnt orange. So here it is in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. And by comparison to the other ones that we've looked at so far, there's more brown in this one. It's still an orange, but it has more of that deeper tonality compared to the other 3 that we've looked at in the cream oranges. And this is such a gorgeous color. I will say I still need to switch out my brush though, because the Essie brush, especially when you've been spoiled by some of the indie brushes, when you're doing swatches like this back to back to back, it's not very fun to work with, especially on larger nails like are on my nail wheels. But beautiful color. The formula still worked wonderfully in 2 coats. So that one was Essie's Playing Koi. Next up is another Essie, this time in their Gel Couture line. This one is Head to Topaz. This is another spicy, kind of starting to lean into the brown family, although I would almost say this has a pinch more of like a red lean to it, but a beautiful shade of a burnt orange. So here it is in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. And again, pardon the bubble. I think that might be the top coat on this one, but yeah, very pretty color. You can see how it compares to Playing Koi there. So there is a little bit less brown in it, but it is in the same family as far as depth and richness of color. So another stunning shade there. And I was very pleasantly surprised that I didn't end up with any straight up dupes so far, even though the next one on camera I feel like is kind of pulling close to Playing Koi. It is lighter. That last one was Essie's Head to Topaz. And then another OPI, this one is called My Italian is a Little Rusty. This is in their Infinite Shine line, and it is a beautiful shade of, again, a rusty orange. Are we sensing a theme here? It is one of my favorite tones of orange, and it is a beautiful cream. So here's My Italian is a Little Rusty in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. This is another one that does have more brown in it along with that orange quality. So when you compare it to Head to Topaz, you can see that brown lean to it, but it definitely still falls into the orange family. And then by comparison to Playing Koi is darker and it has more of like a red leaning brown by comparison. So that was OPI's My Italian is a Little Rusty. Now getting into some more indies. This one is Bella Bosio, and this one is called Candy Corn. Now, I don't know very much about this brand. I'm calling it an indie simply because it looks like an indie. I got this through a mystery box, and you guys, it is such a beautiful shade of orange. It has this pinch of like a red, crelly quality to it, but it's very much an orange. And as you can see, it's got a number of particles in there. It has a shimmer that goes from gold to green, and then it has golden flakes. It is a stunning combination. So here's that one in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. There you can see that beautiful golden glimmer in that shimmer and those flakes. This is one that I would say is somewhere between a 2 and 3 coater, depending again on your nail length and application. I almost would have needed a 3rd on this one, but as you can see, it's decently opaque. But I think if you have really long nails or a very visible nail line, you might need that 3rd coat. But again, such a lovely shade of orange there. So that one was Bella Bosio's Candy Corn. Next up is actually one of the newer additions to my collection. This one is Jour Couture Magic Toadstool. This one came to me in a mystery box, and you guys look at the hollow. So this is going to need a really good shake, but it is an orange hollow. Now this is a very red leaning orange. It is so gorgeous. Here it is in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. So as you can see, compared to the other colors, it definitely has more red in it, but like a reddy brown, which makes this fall firmly, to me at least, into the orange family. And you guys, it is so pretty. You can see the hollow there, and I want to say there's an additional sparkle as well. It is beautiful. So that one was Jour Couture's Magic Toadstool. Next up is another fairly recent acquisition. I got this directly from Cracked. This one is Delicacy in Sardinia. This is such a beautiful shade of orange. Now, I do wish that I had put this a little bit closer to Spice to Meet You, because I do think that they would have been interesting to compare. But For some reason, that's where it ended up. In any case, it's a beautiful cream. And here's that one in just 2 coats with a glossy top coat. Again, this is another formulation that I was super impressed with in just the 2 coats. I mean, look at that opacity. It is a solid 2-coater, beautiful formula there. This one also has a pinch of that brown lean to it. It is so gorgeous. So that one was Cracked Delicacy in Sardinia. Now into some more specialty finishes. In fact, the rest of the polishes on this rack of my oranges are going to be specialty finishes. The next one is from Moonshine Manny, and this is the Fire Swamp. This came out in their Princess Bride collection. That is still one of my favorite movies to this day. And this is a beautiful shade of a burnt orange with a ton of elements in it. We have flakies, we have glitter, we have shimmer. There is so much going on in here. You can see those larger flakes and then the iridescent glitter there. So here's the Fire Swamp in 3 coats with the glossy top coat. This is definitely the kind of a formula that you're going to need 3 coats for what I would call mostly opaque. It'll depend on your nail length and application again, but it is a sheerer, squishier formula. Again, reason being is you want to be able to see the layers of your glitter and those flakes and the shimmer. There is a lot in here. This is a beautiful one. I also like that from my angle, I'm getting a lot of green in those flakies, so that's going to be a very interesting polish to see out in different lighting situations. So that was Moonshine Manny's The Fire Swamp. Next up is one from Fair Maiden. This is Mind Freak. This one came out in Polish Pickup for Rewind 2020. This was one of the super popular polishes that Fair Maiden came out with that year, or maybe even 2019 into 2020, and I ended up getting it for a Rewind, and it is a gorgeous polish. Now, if you're unfamiliar, the makers of Fair Maiden are still around. They just have branched out to their own brands. So instead of pairing up to make Fair Maiden, now they make Beau Revs and Monarch Lacquer. So this one is a very rich, somehow both vibrant and deep orange at the same time, and I think the deepness comes from the components in here. We have hollow plus those flakes. We have multichrome flakes and I think iridescent flakes possibly. There's a lot going on in here. It is so beautiful. So this is it in 3 coats with a glossy top coat. And hopefully what I was talking about will sort of come through. I feel like on my camera anyways, this is coming off a pinch bright, but it has this depth to it. While it is still a kind of vibrant shade of orange, it's still a vibrant burnt orange. It has that beautiful richness to it, plus all of the components that are in it, those multichrome flakes. You can see the rainbows from those hollow bits. It is so gorgeous. Now, this is a bit on the sheer side because it, again, has so many different components in it. I would probably end up wearing this over a matching cream of some kind. I'd probably end up pulling Delicacy in Sardinia from Cracked to pair it over. Let's just see those side by side. Yeah, I think that would work beautifully. In fact, if you wanted it to be even darker, I might go as far as putting this over a very dark orange, like almost a brown leaning orange. But we'll see how I end up playing with that. Very complex polish. So that was Fair Maiden's Mind Freak. Now we're getting into some multichromes and then one more hollow there at the end. The first one comes from a mainstream brand. This is Color Club's Sidewalk Psychic, and this is a beautiful deep copper with hollow. It is one of their linear hollows. So here's that one in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. And you guys, this has a very impressive 2-coat formula, especially considering that it has that linear hollow in it. Beautiful tone here. This is the lighter of the 3 polishes that we're going to look at, but it is so pretty. So that one was Color Club's Sidewalk Psychic. Next up we have another mainstream. This is Essie in their Expressi line, and this one is called Misfit Right In, and this one is a deeper copper that does have some shifts in it and a little bit of a slightly larger particle in there. Here it is in 2 coats with a glossy top coat. Now I will say the formulation on this, even though it said quick dry, but when I added the top coat, it like smudged the sides. And I didn't do overly thick coats. I didn't feel like I did anyways, but in any case, that's why the sides look like that. It happened in the top coat, but it is a beautiful, very rich and fall appropriate color. I will say I'm still getting used to the brush on that one because it is like intentionally wonky if you're not familiar with how the brush is on this particular line from Essie. So as you can see, it is intentionally slanted and sort of tilted to one side, which makes it sort of difficult trying to decide how exactly you're supposed to apply it. Like, are you supposed to apply it this way or this way? I don't know. It's strange to me. I'm still trying to get used to how to work with it. But in any case, that one was Essie from Essie Expressi Misfit Right In. And then a true multichrome. This is from ILNP. This is called Greatness. This is a beautiful fall multichrome. Now, this one is sort of pushing the boundaries of what an orange is, but I felt like it fell into the orange category because it does have a very predominant orange glow on top, but the base of this one is actually squishy black. And then as you can see around the edges, it goes from like red to copper to orange to gold to green. It sort of takes on this inky blue quality around the deeper edges as well. It is so pretty. This one, because of that squishy base, did need 3 coats for full opacity, but look how beautiful that is. Hopefully you can see that compared to the Essie, which is more of like a metallic, this one does have that multichrome shiftiness to it, and it is very, very pretty. It has that rich inkiness about it, and then that beautiful flare of that multichrome glow at the top. So that one was ILNP's Greatness. And then we are closing it out with a mainstream. This is an older one from OPI. This is Coral Reef, and it is one of their hollows. Now, this is actually, I think, one of the brighter shades of orange. Not a burnt, but I guess when you compare it to a straight up like summer orange, it is starting to fall into the fall range. It is a beautiful linear hollow. This is another one that I got in a mystery box, full of older OPIs, and this one definitely caught my attention. This one surprised me again with its formula. I only needed 2 coats for this, and it is such a beautiful shade of orange. As you can see, compared to the especially darker tones that we just looked at, it has a bright quality to it while still sort of falling into that fall orange range. I want to say by comparison to the other browner leaning oranges, this one almost has that red corally lean to it. It is beautiful, and the hollow flare on this is stunning. So last but not least on my orange rack for fall 2024 is OPI's Coral Reef. So there we have it. That's the oranges that I have on my rack for 2024. Let me know down below which ones are your favorites, or if you have any other must-wear oranges from any brand, mainstream, boutique, or indie. As always, hopefully you guys had fun hanging out with me and looking at beautiful polish. Again, do make sure to check out the list down below for all of the other participants of this collab. Again, a huge thank you to Amanda from the Nail Polish Hound for putting the group together, and Jackie from Nurse Jackie for putting together the list for everybody. And another thank you to Amanda for putting together the images that we use for the collabs as well. So again, thanks so much for being here. Hopefully you guys had a good time. If you're new, make sure to hit the little subscribe button down below. That way you don't miss out on any of my new videos, and I will see you in that next one.